What's up, guys? So here I am again. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what a witcher is, and I found this chapter in this book. It's the Voice of Reason. It jumps back and forth. These are all short stories of Geralt. Oh no, what the hell is that? But it jumps back and forth from story to story, and then it goes to the Voice of Reason every now and then, and that's him at this little monastery place. But in this chapter, it really explains what a witcher is, and Geralt talking about it. So I thought it was really interesting, and I wanted to read this part to you guys, just because it really explains, like I said, what a witcher is in the point of view of Geralt. So he's talking to this girl named Iola. There's a few words that I don't know how to pronounce. Iola, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, but the goddess Melatel, I'm gonna call her Melatel. I'm probably saying it wrong. Melatel, we'll just say Melatel. So I'm gonna just read this chapter. It's not that long, and I'm probably gonna skip through some things, but it's pretty funny because he's talking to this girl, and she made a vow. She's in this monastery. She's studying to be, I think, a sorceress, I don't know. But she made a vow of silence, so she can't talk. And that's what makes it funny, is that he's talking to her, and you'll see how he responds. He's like, oh, what do your question, like, kind of like, he's talking to her like she's talking to him, but she's only listening. So, yeah, let's get that started. Let's talk, Iola. I need this conversation. They say silence is golden. Maybe it is, although I'm not sure it's worth that much. It has its price, certainly. You have to pay for it. It's easier for you. Yes, it is. Don't deny it. You're silent through choice. You've made it a sacrifice to your goddess. I don't believe in Melatel. Don't believe in the existence of other gods either, but I respect your choice, your sacrifice. Your belief. Because your faith and sacrifice, the price you're paying for your silence, will make you a greater being. Or at least, it could. But my faithlessness can do nothing. It's powerless. You ask what I believe in? In that case, I believe in the sword. As you can see, I carry two. Every witcher does. It's said spitefully, the silver one is for the monsters and the iron is for humans. But that's wrong. As there are monsters which can be struck down only with a silver blade, so there are those for whom iron is lethal. And Iola, not just any iron. It must come from meteorite. What is a meteorite, you ask? It's a falling star. You must have seen them, short, luminous streaks in the night. You've probably made a wish on one. Perhaps it was one more reason for you to believe in the gods. For me, a meteorite is nothing more than a bit of metal, primed by the sun and its fall, metal to make swords. Yes, of course. You can take my sword. Feel how light it... No! Don't touch the edge. You'll cut yourself. It's sharper than a razor. It has to be. I train in every spare moment. I don't dare lose my skill. I've come here, this furthest corner of the temple garden, to limber up, to rid my muscles of that hideous, loathsome numbness which has come over me. This coldness flowing through me. And you found me here. Funny, for a few days, I was trying to find you. I needed to talk, Iola. Let's sit down for a moment. You don't know me at all, do you? I'm called Geralt. Geralt of... No. Only Geralt. Geralt of nowhere. I'm a witcher. My home is Kaer Morhen, Witcher's settlement. It was a fortress. Not much remains of it. Kaer Morhen, that's where the likes of me were produced. It's not done anymore. No one lives in Kaer Morhen now. No one but Vesemir. Who's Vesemir? My father. Why are you so surprised? What's so strange about it? Everyone's got a father, and mine is Vesemir. And so what if he's not my real father? I didn't know him, or my mother. I don't even know if they're still alive, and I don't much care. Yes, Kaer Morhen. I underwent the usual mutation there, through the trial of grasses, and then hormones, herbs, viral infections, and then through them all again. And again, to the bitter end. Apparently, I took the changes unusually well. I was only ill briefly, I was considered to be an exceptionally resilient brat, and was chosen for more complicated experiments as a result. They were worse, much worse, but as you see, I survived, the only one to live out of all those children for further trials. My hair has been white ever since. Total loss of pigmentation. Side effect, as they say. A trifle. Then they taught me various things until the day when I left Kaer and took to the road. I'd earned my medallion, the sign of the Wolf School. I had 2 swords, silver and iron, and my conviction, enthusiasm, incentive, and faith. Faith that I was needed in a world full of monsters and beasts to protect the innocent. As I left Kaer I dreamed of meeting my first monster. I couldn't wait to stand eye to eye with him, and the moment arrived. My first monster, Iola, was bald and had exceptionally rotten teeth. I came across him on the highway where, with some fellow monsters, deserters, he'd stopped a peasant's cart and pulled out a little girl, maybe 13 years old. His companions held her father while the bald man tore off her dress, yelling it was time for her to meet a real man. I rode up and said the time had come for him too. I thought I was very witty. The bald monster released the girl and threw himself at me with an axe. He was slow but tough. I hit him twice. Not clean cuts, but spectacular, and only then did he fall. His gang ran away when they saw what a witcher's sword could do to a man. Am I boring you, Iola? I need this. I really do need it. Where was I? My first noble deed. You see, they told me again and again in Kaer not to get involved in such incidents, not to play at being knight-errant or uphold the law, not to show off, but to work for money. And I joined this fight like an idiot, not 50 miles from the mountains. And do you know why? I wanted the girl, sobbing with gratitude, to kiss her savior on the hands and her father to thank me on his knees. In reality, her father fled with his attackers, and the girl, drenched in the bald man's blood, threw up, became hysterical, and fainted in fear when I approached her. Since then, I've only very rarely interfered in such matters. I did my job. I quickly learned how. I'd ride up to village enclosures or town pickets and wait. If they spat, cursed, and threw stones, I rode away. If someone came out to give me a commission, I'd carry it out. I visited towns and fortresses. I looked for proclamations nailed to posts at the crossroads. I looked for the words "Witcher urgently needed." And then there'd be a sacred site, a dungeon, necropolis, or ruins, forest, ravine, or grotto hidden in the mountains, full of bones and stinking carcasses. Some creature which lived to kill out of hunger for pleasure or invoked by some sick will. A manticore, wyvern, fogler, ishna, Leocorus, chimera, leshy, vampire, ghoul, gravier, werewolf, giant scorpion, striga, blackanis, kikimora, viper. So many I've killed. There'd be a dance in the dark and a slash of the sword, and fear and distaste in the eyes of my employer afterward. Mistakes? Of course I've made them, but I keep to my principle. No, not the code, although I have at times hidden behind a code. People like that. Those who follow a code are often respected and held in high esteem, but no one's ever compiled a Witcher's code. I invented mine, just like that, and keep to it, always. Not always. There have been situations where it seemed there wasn't any room for doubt, when I should say to myself, what do I care? It's nothing to do with me, I'm a Witcher. When I should listen to the voice of reason, to listen to my instinct, even if it's fear, not to what my experience dictates. I should have listened to the voice of reason that time. I didn't. I thought I was choosing the lesser evil. I chose the lesser evil. Lesser evil. I'm Geralt, Witcher. I'm the Butcher of Blaviken. Don't touch me. You might see, and I don't want you to. I don't want you to know. I know my fate whirls about me like water and weir. It's hard on my heels, following my tracks, but I never look back. A loop? Yes, that's what Nanex sensed. What tempted me, I wonder, in Sintra? How could I have taken such a risk so foolishly? No, no, no. I never look back. I'll never return to Sintra. I'll avoid it like the plague. I'll never go back there. If my calculations are correct, that child would have been born in May, sometime around the feast of Beltane. If that's true, it's an interesting coincidence, because Yennefer was also born on Beltane's. Enough of this. We should go. It's already dusk. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you, Iola. No, nothing's wrong. I'm fine. Quite fine. So I really like that chapter just because it really explains who Geralt is in his own words. And that's what I really loved about it. And I was like, I have to read this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So yeah, he explains a lot of things there. The trials that the Witchers have to go through, and they go into a Witcher school out of the 3 that I mentioned in my other video. The wolf, the cat, or the griffin. One of these 3 schools, and then and as a kid, as a child, they are separated from their families. Some of them don't even know their families. So they're placed in these schools, and they are created, or they're turned into these. Some of them, sometimes they're called mutants. Other people call them what do they call them? Like superhuman. Their DNA completely changes through all these trials. Like he says, the trial of grasses, hormones. They give them a lot of these elixirs to drink that would be pretty much poisonous to a normal human being. So they make them immune to this stuff so that it could change them in ways so that they're capable of killing monsters and stuff like that. So what these trials that they have to go through as kids do is, like Geralt was saying, he went through a harder trial. He went through more because not everybody could survive it. And because of it, he's pretty much sterile. He's lost pigmentation, not only in his hair but in his skin as well. That's why he's so pale. And all Witchers, their eyes are slit down the middle. Although in the book, I mean, kind of like a feline, you know, so that they could see in the dark. Although in the book, it sounds like Geralt could change that willingly, like through just he could change it. He could change his eyes to look like ours. I'm sure, but there's a part in the book where someone opens the window and the light comes in, and he shields his eyes. But that he says that it's more, him shielding his eyes is more out of habit and not because he needs to. Because he says that he could just make his eyes slit, you know, kind of like a feline's. So I was like, okay, I guess in the books he could willingly change that, but in the games it seems like that's how he always has his eyes. So they can naturally, after these trials, they could see in the dark. Their eyes change, slit down, like, you know, kind of like a feline. And their reflexes are faster. They're pretty much trained to be like expert swordsmen, and they can sense magic in the air and also through their medallion because it vibrates. And some people call them sorcerers, and I'm not sure. See, this Geralt of Rivia is a Witcher. He's from Rivia, so that they call him Geralt of Rivia. A cunning sorcerer. I think that's a mistake in the translation, because this is a Polish book originally. This is the author. I'm not going to attempt to say his name because I'm probably going to butcher it horribly. Hopefully you were able to see that. But it's Polish, and I think the translation was incorrect because he's not a sorcerer. Witchers are not sorcerers. In fact, Witchers and sorcerers don't get along. It's a completely different thing. Especially Witchers and Wizards. Witchers and Wizards do not get along. So Witchers and sorcerers, there are some that work together. Like, for example, Triss Marigold. She's a character that was in The Witcher, and she's mentioned in the book in this book. I don't think she comes out. She's mentioned because I haven't finished the book. Triss Merigold is a sorceress, and she works with Geralt. They're in a relationship actually, so they're different. They're not the same, and I'll tell you why they're not the same. Sorcerers wield magic naturally. They have magic powers. They can wield it on their own. They can just, you know, put a curse on somebody or bust out this magic spell or something like that. Witchers can't. Witchers don't have natural magic abilities. What they what they can do though is they have been trained by sorcerers, I believe, to use signs in order to a butterfly. Some signs to do some spells. The Witcher doesn't have natural magical abilities, but by using these signs, they could make certain spells. So that's why you do see Geralt using some magic, but it's because of the signs that he's using with his hand. For example, in the game, I see him using, I think it's something like this. He to calm his horse. The horse in the book is called Roach. Hopefully they call her the same. I don't know if she still has that name in the game. Most likely. I mean, I don't see why they would change it. But he goes like this to Roach to calm her down. So he does different signs. Like one of them is called the sign of a rot or something like that. And they do different things. But that's the biggest difference between a sorcerer and a witcher. So I don't know why they call him a sorcerer, because he's not a sorcerer.